We're live!
Yay!
Yay! Joining us, everybody. We are here. We had some technical difficulties, and this is my first time doing something like this, so I had to really figure it out, but everyone was bearing with me as we got it together, and now we're on. So feel free to ask any questions. We will definitely be checking in wherever we're supposed to check. I'm sure it's going to fly up there. The ladies will let us know when we get questions, but feel free to ask any questions. And yeah, let's get started. I guess I want to everyone to introduce themselves. Everyone, these are the contributors to the anthology Because You Love to Hate Me.
Woo! Who wants to go first?
Oh yeah, okay. Anyone? Kat, you can go first because you're you're first on my little thingy.
Oh yay! I'm Kennedy from Cuddlebuggery, and we're just so glad to be part of this. Yeah, it's been an awesome journey, and yeah, thank you for having us, Ameriie, and thank you for asking us to be a part of this.
Thanks for being part of it. Thank you. Like on a game show.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead, Sam.
Okay. I don't know who was next in the line because everyone has a different thing. So, hi, I'm Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and again, thanks, Ameriie, for having me join this and be a part of everything. You know, kind of repeating what Kat was saying. So, yeah, technical difficulties finally worked out.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I am Sasha Alsberg from abookutopia, and I am so excited to be a part of this project. I can't believe it's been it's been more than a year since we originally have done it. It's been crazy, so I'm so happy that Ameriie thought about this idea, and we all are contributing to it in such amazing and unique ways. So really excited!
Yay! Now, you know, the first thing that a lot of people ask is like, why villains? And you know, essentially, I don't know. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of, I feel like the climate of the world right now, it just really does, everyone's so polarized that it almost seems a little crazy to talk about just the things that the conversations I've been having with people about right and wrong and what's fair, what isn't, and empathy. I just feel like it's really timely. But what are your thoughts on just, you know what, let's just stick, we'll go into the other bigger thing, but what are your thoughts on villainy within fiction? I feel like that's probably a little easier for us to wrap our heads around. Yeah, villains that you see in movies and literature. What are your thoughts in general?
Well, I feel so passionate about this subject just because, you know, villains to me are such a vital aspect of any type of story, whether they're like the bad, like, oh, I want to kill everybody in the world villains, or the people that are villains that think that they're doing what's right, but really in retrospect it is wrong. And I feel like they are really the ones who push the story forward in a very interesting way, because they're, you know, they're moving the plot forward in their like evil mastermind ways. So I always find that very interesting and fun. And in that fiction, I really like a really bad villain that I love to hate. Because you love to hate me. And I think that the best villains out there are truly the worst, but you can admire them for their evilness, but you can also just hate them and hate their guts and wish that you were the ones who get to slay them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I have to say, I always think when I'm reading a book that the protagonist is only really as good as the antagonist. You know, like they kind of work in polar opposites. The more evil the antagonist, the better it makes the protagonist to me to read. But I always find myself rooting for the villain because, like, a lot of my favorite villains, like the Darkling, from
Griffith trilogy.
Yeah,
I'll jump in there.
Yeah, like I always find I'm like rooting for villains like that, where like they've got this seed of wanting to do something good but going about it all wrong, and those are my favorite kinds of villains where I can be like, oh, I feel for you, but you are bad and I like it. And
yeah, I definitely agree with what Kat was saying, and that a book is really only as good as its villain to me. I think that you can have an amazing story, but if the villain is unbelievable or just really like you don't quite understand them, because I think a good thing about villains and kind of what everybody was saying was like you almost root for them, you almost see where they're coming from even if they're really bad, and if they're flat that makes a story way more flat. So I feel like stories really hinge on how good the villain is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. The interesting thing, I think, you know, we talk a lot about villainy, and there's a period in time where people were feeling like, I really want to see the villain's point of view or the anti-hero's point of view. And then I was listening to, I think, a Brandon Sanderson chat, and he was talking a lot about heroic fantasy and how much he really loved still to see books where, you know, there is a clear good person. I think we've, in one way, in one sense, we've been so used to very obvious good and evil characters, but then I think too, everyone kind of like fell into the deliciousness of that morally gray area. But I wonder if, do you guys think that we're going to swing into a period of time now where we go back to like heroic characters and characters who are clearly good? Because I've heard some people say, I'm tired of gray, I just want a good guy. I'm starting to
Yeah, I've heard something really similar with that, with talks about Wonder Woman recently, the movie. And no spoilers if anybody like hasn't seen it yet, which if you haven't, I want to shake you.
haven't.
Okay, I won't spoil anything. But people were talking about how they're like the response to it is so big because people were getting sick of the DC darkness, you know? And the great thing about Wonder Woman is she's so good, but she's not good in a like really corny way. Like she's just genuinely good, and she's fighting these battles to be just good and a good person, and she's doing it not for her own selfish motivations, but because she loves people. And so I think this is kind of the start of us swinging back and being sick of like the Nolan Batman movies and that kind of thing. Like we want somebody that's like, we want both basically. Like you can't just have only one or the other because it gets tired. So yeah, I definitely think that's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's another thing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Sash.
What? Oh no, I'm just thinking about Wonder Woman, how great of a movie it was. But I agree exactly what, you know, everybody's been saying, just like in the sense that, like, you know, it's great to have like a character, like there's black and white in a lot of stories that we've read before, and there's lots of gray, especially currently in the stories, you know, we read and we write and all that. And I find that like certain stories, like I feel like the separation between the good guy and the bad guy sometimes can be really purposeful in the novel in making it even better than it already is, because sometimes books, they shouldn't have only great characters. There should be a lot, there should be a separation between the two, but I feel like it really depends on the storyline and the really the idea of the book and what the readers and what the writer has intended for the readers to read.
You know, I think a lot of times a lot of people do like their mustache twirling over the top villainous characters, and I like them too, like, because, you know, it gives you an obvious baddie to defeat and it gives you the good guys win in the end. But sometimes you want that more meaty villain who, you know, toes the line between, you know, wanting to do something good and doing something but doing it all the wrong ways, or being so twisted that they can't see the right way to do something. And I think those are the villains I tend to enjoy the most, because, you know, they just have that little bit more character development. You know, they're not quite so flat out evil. And maybe at the end of the day, when they get defeated, you don't get that same sense of, oh, we defeated the baddie, but it's more like you get that hollow victory where like, oh, you know, that character's gone now, you know? So that's how I feel about those kind of villains.
I love that. Like I love a good villain trope. I always love, like, you know, the mustache twirling bad guy. But, you know, think about, you know, I know that when I was reading, I'm not going to spoil anything, but when I finished one of Cassandra Clare's books, I found out a character died, and it was a character that, you know, was seen as bad, but I honestly really was sad that the character had to die, because I was like, but he's so bad, but in a way I wanted a redemption storyline to happen after that. So, you know, it kind of like made my heart just like cry in pain, but also with joy, and I wasn't really sure what emotions I was supposed to be feeling. So it's kind of fun to experience that in a sense.
It's always good to have, like, it's always good to have someone that you love to hate on a show or in a story. I mean, it's something that makes them very intriguing. I think for me, I tend to really not love to hate them, but I like love to love them. I feel bad for them. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gem and the Holograms. Are you familiar with Gem and the Holograms? Like, I felt so bad for Pizzazz. And I remember, and I'm talking about the cartoon, like the old cartoon. I remember being a kid and thinking, I'm sick of Jericho always thinking she can get out of everything just by going Showtime Synergy. She always has help and she has friends. But Pizzazz is all by herself, and your dad doesn't care, and she's just hurting, and she just wants to get his attention. Like, I felt so bad for her. But speaking of what Sam was mentioning about Wonder Woman, and like, just the goodness and the desire being, it's being driven by wanting to help other people. It's an interesting thought, because I remember a long time ago coming across like the idea, the theory that everything that we do is selfish. Everything that we do is selfless. Even, for instance, let's say giving to charity or helping someone out, or in some way, as whatever selfless act that we can think fundamentally is selfish because it makes us feel good. Because we want to feel good, we do things. And you can even bring it actually to, like, let's just say, caring for a child or whatever. You are as human beings, we are motivated by wanting to feel good, do the thing that feels good to us. So even doing things that seem selfless are fundamentally selfish. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I've heard that before too, and I almost, like, what you're saying resonates with me, because I'm like, yeah, like, you're told sometimes, like, if you're feeling bad or whatever, to go out and help other people. I mean, they do that when people get, punishment, community service or whatever. They're like, go and help somebody else and see how good that feels for you. So it is, even when it's recommended to do and you're trying to, help other people, it is like almost like a symbiotic relationship anyway. So it's not necessarily all bad. I mean, it's kind of like you're helping them so they can help you kind of thing. And it doesn't need to be seen as selfish, but I do think that human beings are like very self-motivated with everything.
Self-serving, right?
Yeah.
Well, everything's self-motivated, I guess, at the end of the day. But I think villains kind of transcend the... Oh, Sasha. Sorry, Sasha, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, don't worry.
I was just going to say, I think, like, in literature and also in real life, villains, they tend to transcend the social niceties and norms that we tend to view as being good, and what we want to show other people. They're kind of like they kind of like doff that coat, and they're like, okay, well, I'm just bad, so I'm just going to steal your trolley at the shopping center. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do?
No, I just been loving everything that everybody's been saying, because it's so true. Like, I mean, like, self-motivation, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It's something that can then it makes you aspire to do some good things. Because if you're motivated by your own personal experiences to go do something better for another person, that's a good thing. But then there's the bad self-motivation that's like, oh, I want to destroy this world. And there's both two polar opposite sides of that. And I kind of love the idea of playing around with it and trying to think of what motives are for each people and what makes them want to do that.
Well, just to pose another question to you guys, I wanted to ask you do you believe that there is such thing as good and evil? And yeah, do you believe there is such a thing as good and evil? And what is that really?
I personally think that there is good and evil in this world, but there's different extents of it. Nothing's just purely good and nothing's purely evil. So I think, especially in this world, something can be seen as just evil, and that's fine. But there's a scale that really they can move forward and back on, depending on what the act is or what the idea is behind that. And I think that we can't say that there isn't good and evil in the world, because I personally see it every day, just watching the news, being out in the world, and I see lots of good acts, and then I see lots of people, and but it's on a sliding scale, so it's not always just 100% of one. There's always a little bit in between.
Yeah, I agree with what Sasha was saying, that yes, there's two ends of a spectrum, but that there's always areas of gray in between, and that you can't, especially with fictional characters, you can't say that a character or a person really even is 100% good or evil. There's always something, maybe you have the worst villain ever out to destroy everybody, horrible, but they really love their cat and they take really good care of their cat, and it's just that's what makes them so interesting, is you have even when you're that person's horrible and you're but look at how spoiled their cat is, it just, you have to have those kinds of elements.
Or Hitler had a cat that he really, really loved.
Yeah. So again, there's always little pieces, and even though you can be ultimately overall that person is more bad than good, but every character, every real person is going to have elements of both.
There's this thing I just came across. And one of the things that I used to think a lot about this example, right? was like, okay, this is your decision. You know that people are coming across to your land from ships, from, let's look at the indigenous peoples of the Americas, right? You know they're coming. The good thing that we would say today is everyone be good, get along, try to help, be politically astute, however, understand that it could be dangerous because you don't know who these people are. If the indigenous people of the Americas could have seen 200, not even that far, because it didn't take that long before everyone to die of being enslaved and brutalized and disease and everything, would it be evil to kill everyone on that first ship? Because when I was in high school, I thought if they just killed everyone on that first ship and never let anyone go back, it probably would have been inevitable, but maybe they would have really gotten another 300 years. And then there's another thing that I came across that was talking about like this railroad thing. Basically, you have a car, right? Have you heard of it, Sam?
Mm-hmm.
Railroad car. Okay, so it's like, for those of you who don't know, it's like you have the railroad and it can go, the railroad train can go down 2 tracks. One person is laying on one, 5 people are laying on the other. You have to switch the switch. Are you going to let it run over the 5 people or the one? A lot of people would say, well, I got to do something, just the one. Okay, one. Now you have another scenario where you have the railroad going, the railway train going down like the track to hit 5 people, but there's a free track. If you push one person into the track, the train will then go on that one and kill that one person. If you don't do anything, the train is going to kill 5 people. Is it wrong to push one person onto the track to save the 5? I feel like these are very like real life instances, you know what I mean? That kind of like mirror what we really deal with as human beings today, what our life is. And I mean, well, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, those like moral dilemma questions are what's so interesting about like building characters and even just looking at people in general, about like there's a side almost to every story, even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't agree with these villainous people in real life or not, that there's a motivation, a reason, that it's not just haphazard, that they have in their mind a train on tracks and they're deciding for their own different motivations. But it's not just like, oh, these things aren't happening just haphazardly, like there's
the world for no reason.
Right. There's like ripple effects of all these different things and events that have happened in those person's, lives and stuff. So yeah, I think these kinds of questions are interesting because it's just like, and you can answer these now, we can answer them in this live show, but ultimately we wouldn't really know what we do until it was in front of us, like what we'd be doing. So
we wouldn't know. That's why Harry Potter always got on my nerves at the end when he wouldn't kill anyone. I know he didn't kill anyone, but I was like, you can't not kill the Death Eater with Expelliarmus because somebody has to take care of that guy.
Right. Right.
So you keep your hands clean. It drove me nuts. What do you think, Kat? Kat's been all quiet.
Gosh. The moral dilemma questions, I guess, like, because, the first example you gave, most people would be like, okay, let's divert the train to kill one person. Let's just push the button. That's what a lot of people would actually end up choosing because that's a general response. The pushing a person onto the track is usually what a villain would pick, but we would class, them as people with disorders, like a psychopath, for example, would be the person who would push. Most normal people wouldn't take that direct action to actually kill somebody by pushing them onto the tracks in order to divert the train. But, it's always interesting, those moral dilemmas, whenever I hear them, because I'm like, well, in fiction you would wave your wand and do a spell and the train would stop and everybody would be saved, and that's usually in real life how we decide, okay, the good guy can do the impossible to save everybody. But in real life it's not always that easy, as you were saying, like you were saying about Harry Potter having, he gets out of his jail free card because he can just perform that magic, so yeah.
But by not pushing, because I don't know, I'm not saying I would do it, but I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, because I also feel like
I'd be concerned with you if you would.
I don't know, I don't, because I feel like by not pushing one person onto the tracks, those 5 people that I could have saved, their blood is on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
But Harry, not
there's a difference between pressing a button and actually pushing somebody onto the tracks.
But
which one is more villainous? Like, which one's more
What is
villainous?
more villainous? Standing by and being a bystander and saying, I'm going to remain neutral. Again, this parallels what happens a lot of time in politics or in countries going to war. Is it more villainous for me to stand by and say, I'm too scared to make a decision? I'm too afraid to do anything because I don't want to hurt anyone. So I'm going to watch 5 people get run over because I can't sacrifice one person. I mean, maybe I should throw myself on the track. I don't know.
Right. That would be the hero.
I can't argue
The
that
hero's
I
journey.
need to be around to make these hard decisions in the future, so I shouldn't push myself. I mean, these are the hardest dilemmas, and I don't know what the right answer is. Then it goes back to, yeah, whose fault is it then if the 5 people get run over? All the people standing by like, I'm too afraid, and that villain's like, I'm gonna do the task. I'll do it, and everyone's gonna hate me, but I'm gonna save those 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah, these questions are so
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm scared now.
No, I really love these kind of questions. These are, you know how they say every person has the thing that they think about, and every writer has a common thread that's in all of their work. That for me, it's that kind of thing. The moral dilemma, what is right? Because I personally don't know if I believe in good or evil. And I know my agent was like, really? You don't believe in evil? Like, I was like, no, I don't think I believe in it. I think I believe in human beings being human beings, but I don't know if I can call it evil or just people being people. And like Sam was saying, having their reasons. Everyone's got their railroad track, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I feel like it's almost an easier, aside from people who have a sickness, because that's what I told her too. I was like, some people are sick. They actually have a mental problem where they cannot have empathy or whatever it is. There's something going on. But then for a lot of other people, it's just the railroad track thing, or just, yeah. I think it's almost easier to say evil. Like, oh, it's just evil. It's like, well, it's easier because then it's not our fault, you know?
I think that, like, honestly, I would love to see somebody, like, I don't know who would be trained enough to answer this question in, like, a very enlightening way, but, like, some type of, like, sociologist or somebody it would be really interesting just to see somebody explain this who knows the situation and who knows, like, the mentality that goes through people's heads when they have to make decisions like this and what the after effects are. So I would love to hear from, like, a trained professional regarding, like, how the human brain works and how they pick a decision and what the repercussions are. Because I don't know, it's like, you know, we're getting tongue-tied over this question, and I want to go and ask somebody who knows how to answer these types of questions, because I think that would be very entertaining and very interesting, and I just am so curious.
There is a book, so you what is it? The guy who wrote So You've Been Shamed, about the internet shaming. Mm-hmm. He wrote something about if you think you're a psychopath or something like that.
I remember I was going to mention that, but I don't know the name of the title of the book.
Yeah.
So but I've heard about that one too. Something about like root of evil or something that's similar to that kind of question.
Then there's Leonard Laudanow. He wrote Your Subconscious Mind, and he's basically saying, he's basically explaining why all the things that we think are just like gut instinct, or we're just guessing, we're actually making these like quick, minute decisions. And I think that kind of ties in too. But the psychopath one, I really want to read that one.
Mm-hmm.
Things got dark.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold you guys up too much, because I know we also took a while with the whole technological difficulties. But I just want to say that I'm really excited about. I could ask you if you want to say anything about what you wrote, but I know, you know, we want to kind of like let everybody read it too. So that's why I really wanted to focus more on kind of like your general thinking and coming up with it. Well, you know what? One thing I think won't spoil anything is, how hard was it to come up with your prompts? How hard was that? Samantha smiles. Thoughts? Sasha, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I was thinking, like, because, you know, I was paired up with Susan Dennard, and like, we both have the same mentality when it comes to villains. We really wanted to like choose a villain that, you know, could be seen walking the streets in our very real world. It's not somebody who has any superpowers or anybody who has like a layer. Well, I don't know if Moriarty would have a layer. I think he probably would, but it'd be in the form of an office in a high rise. But, you know, we really wanted to pick somebody that you see walk the streets, and that's like its own type of terror, knowing that somebody, just like sitting next to you on the train, could be a crazy psycho man who can outsmart Sherlock. So like we really had a fun idea, like just like bouncing back just like thoughts and, you know, different villains. And it's talking about Moriarty just stuff, because Sherlock, the show, is awesome, and also the books, and like we really wanted to choose a villain that is very realistic, and so I think that's why we ultimately chose Moriarty.
That was a good one. That was really scary. The idea that that's the scary thing, is that the person next door could be like a serial killer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the really frightening thing. And all the time when you're watching like Forensic Files, it's always like the normal people poisoning each other, and the guy poisoning his wife, and you just thought they were just so normal. The doctor teacher couple next door, it's always like the quote unquote normal people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm lucky because I had Steph to bounce off of. I had a million bad ideas, and Steph was like, Kat, no, just stop. And eventually we managed to come up with a gender-bent God of War, and we were happy with that because we wanted something kind of opposite to Sasha. We wanted something fantastical and something that was just gonna like just burst in and be awesome, and you know, and that was, you know, really great, like big balls of fire. That's what we wanted from our villain. And luckily Nicola like delivered with that. We were really, you know, glad for that. So yeah.
How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it was necessarily hard to come up with prompts. I feel like I had an abundance of prompts.
You did have an abundance of prompts.
Yeah, I feel like it was like over 12. Like there was a lot going on with ours. But ultimately mine was, I wanted something that felt, I feel like villains on my channel are kind of like my thing. So I was like, this has to feel like part of like, you know, me, and kind of something that I really like. So we kind of ended up doing more of a collaborative discussion about it, and kind of finding something that, an angle that someone really liked and an angle I liked, and kind of putting those things together, and he kind of fused them kind of in his little writer cave and did that whole thing. So mine was more, there's so many ideas, which one do we go with kind of thing. And now I've kept those ideas that weren't used, and be like, one day if I decide to be motivated to write.
I was just about to say, you had so many incredible ideas because you love Persephone, and you feel so strongly about Persephone and her tale. I was going to ask you, one, you know, what is it about her tale specifically that draws you in? But first, are you planning on writing anything? Because Sasha writes, Kat writes. I
know. I'm really busy with other things, but it's something that I think about. I have like ideas, but I think I just don't have the motivation that you guys have to sit down and be like, I'm devoting time to this. Like, I know how long it takes. I know the work that goes behind it. And I'm like, you know, man, I have an internship. I'm planning a book event. I have other projects. I'm in graduate school. I work full time. Like, yo, I can't do this right now.
It's something we can do later.
Yeah, I definitely have things percolating, but I definitely have, you know, like some of those prompts that I threw out. I'm like, well, now these are mine. I'm keeping them because they're mine. So one day some of those might see the light of day. But as far as Persephone, the thing that I love about her is because she, for the longest time, was either viewed as like this kind of evil kind of myth going on as far as like mythology. People were really terrified of her. But she also had this, she was stolen, she was taken. And I like how modern interpretations of it, and like modern feminism especially, has kind of reclaimed that stolen maiden myth and really been like, no, she chose, she is a badass. Like, she is more powerful than Hades is. Like, she is more feared. People wouldn't say her name in Greek like culture because like you would turn her eye towards you. Like, people were really scared of her. And I was like, that kind of, she changed her name even when she went down to the underworld. Like, she was a different goddess, had a different name, was a corn maiden, and then went down and was the queen of the underworld, you know, like was sharing power, was the equal. So I think there's so many things about her that just speak to me on a deep emotional level. So when I started hearing modern retellings and reimaginings of her, I was like, yeah, she's my girl. I love everything about her. She's amazing. So yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm ready for you to like jump in the writing trenches when you're finished with the other 10 lessons that you're doing.
Right. One day.
And so, yeah, before we close out, is there anything that you want to let people know that you're working on, that you are working on? There's like a conference that you're putting together, right? So each of you, if you can talk about, you know.
Yeah. So coming up for me is Booknetfest. That is the 1st and 2nd of September of this year. It's going to be in Orlando. The first day is kind of just a fun optional day. We're all going to Harry Potter World on the first day at Hogwarts. I'm just saying, like, it's really important. And then the second day we have a ton of panels. It's at the Caribe Royale Hotel. And we have a website. It's booknetfest.com. It's open to anybody, and people are free to come. But it's a lot of creator-based stuff. It's a lot of internet stuff, fandom stuff. We have booktubers, bookstagrammers, bloggers, every realm of the fandom book-based internet. So if you guys are interested in coming, please do, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I want to go so badly.
Do it.
No. I'm like, dang it, I'm moving literally those exact days. I'm so
Oh,
bummed,
no.
but-
Oh.
I think Sasha's phone just fell.
It's okay. It's safe.
We still have her face.
Okay, there she is. So Sasha, what are you working on now that you can share with us?
So what I'm working on now, I'm working on 2 different book projects. The first one is Zenith 2, which is the sequel to Zenith, the original, and it's really exciting because we also get more time to write this book than we did the first one. So it's a lot of lots of plotting and just FaceTime sessions with Lindsay and I, and we're having such a blast. The first book, Zenith, is coming out January 16th, 2018. And the other project I'm working on is a solo project that I'm very excited to share with you guys way in the future, because it's at the very beginning stages, but it's something I've wanted to write for years. So I'm really excited I finally get to do it.
Yay! And I know Kat's writing as well, but Kat's a perfectionist. You don't even have to tell us anything about your project or anything, but I guess I just told everybody Kat's writing something.
Kat is always writing something, so that's always going on. But for me, it's just life stuff at the moment. So I'm just getting on with full-time work and all that stuff. So yeah.
And you run Cuddlebug. Like I didn't realize you had a family and everything, just because of how much work you guys put into Cuddlebuggery. Like I was like, oh wow, I did not know that you had like a big life outside of that as well, just because it's so much work. Plus with your writing as well. So I guess we have something to in the future.
It has been a lot of work for many years. So it's been a labor of love. We love Cuddlebuggery so much. So
I love it too. It was one of my introductions onto bookish internet. I didn't even know that bookish internet was a thing. And I came across you guys' blog, and I really, like, our tastes aligned a lot, and I really loved what I saw there.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful.
So I guess I'll just finish up with my thing. Working on promoing Because You Love to Hate Me. So you pick this up because we all worked so hard on it, like seriously so hard. And I'm also working on a YA sci-fi fantasy trilogy and an adult standalone. And I have a new project coming out, music-wise, MA3, REDRUM. I just put that out recently. And yeah, hopefully the album will be done in a month and a half. I think I should finish it by then. So until then, it's that.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. That sounds wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you guys so much for joining all of us together, for joining the chat. And thank you so much for lending your creativity to the project. It would not exist without you guys. It just wouldn't. And thank you also so much for your hard work in writing your, writing pieces, your contributions, and also, hanging in with all of the back and forths and the constant writing and figuring things out and tweaking. And I think you guys just who are watching or who will be watching in the future, there's just there's so much that goes on when you're putting something together. So I'm just really appreciative that people were willing to put their time and share their time and their lives with this project. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Amy, for having us and putting everything together. Yay!
Say that again.
You are our fearless leader.
Oh, thanks. For now, and then we'll all be different. We'll all have different projects. Right now, I'm taking us down the tracks, and then someone else is going to take over on the next thing. Sam will be the fearless railroad track. I don't know if I should use that analogy, actually. Sounds like a disaster looming. Samantha is going to be our fearless leader for this book con, this new thing, which sounds so exciting, and I think it's going to be really huge. It's going to be really big, so I'm excited for that too.
Thanks.
So thanks, guys. We're going to bid adieu. Ciao. Annyeong. Arrivederci. I think I just pushed stop broadcast, right?
Pretty much.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.